This, folks, is the coolest Nikon on planet Earth. No doubt, hands down, flat out the coolest. Excellencia, magnifico, отлично, очень-то хорошо, совсем-то, muy bien. What do you think, folks? It's actually a real Nikon. It's not just a shell. I've got a shell of a Nikon here, so it's not a shell of a Nikon, it's an entire Nikon, including the battery. I have several issues with this camera, however.
Shazam, I bet you do! How do you mount the lens on that thing?
Oh my God.
Sometimes the reflex mirror gets a bit stuck, I bet you.
Yes, it's actually an absolutely complete Nikon. Parts and all, never disassembled. I just thought I would have to be the first person on YouTube to show you the coolest Nikon on Earth, because I know there's no other Nikon on Earth right now that's this cool. I mean,
I think you took literalism a little too far.
Well, you know, I can't help it. Some people don't have a sense of humor, but I do. You know, I'm always doing magnetic freezing experiments, and how about dielectric force vectors of hydrous oxide, i.e. water, as it's freezing, as it undergoes magnetic fields. So I thought I would see how a full blood Nikon would actually fare inside the freezer, and we'll thaw it out, and then we'll hair dry it, and then I'll let you know the results after I mount a really crappy lens on it that I'm not afraid of getting water into. I've got a few lenses that are pretty junky, so after now I know the battery will be okay, and I know the LCD will be okay, and actually the internal circuit board, because of how I actually froze it. I also used there's no electrolytic conductance, as is typically found in any sort of water, especially tap water. So I've got no iron particles that'll cause a spark gap on any of the internal boards. So I used heavily distilled water, so it should be okay actually after I melt it out and put a lens back on it, and it's kind of stuck there. But I thought you'd have to see the coolest Nikon on Earth. Half humor, half experiment. Battery is complete Nikon. It does work. It had a hot shoe issue before I froze it, but I don't give a damn about the hot shoe issue, so we're not worried about that. It also had the dial is broken, but it'll still work in program mode, so I don't care about that either. I'll only care about it actually being able to take a picture and being able to store the image, and it does that properly. So now that I've encased it in a solid block of deionized and distilled water, let's see how it fares after I gotta let it thaw naturally. I can't run it underneath regular tap water, because the regular tap water, of course, has a lot of iron content in it, and if that rolled inside the camera, then it would not be able to dry out naturally, because the iron particles would cause a lot of sparks on the micro solder points of the CPU board and other places, and that would cause a short out issue. But if you use very purified water, you can see how clear it is. This isn't tap water. You can see the clarity of the ice. By using purified and deionized water that's also heavily distilled like this, let me just wipe the melting water off the top of it. We'll see what the results are after it's been completely thawed and then allowed to dry for a week. What do you think the outcome of this camera will be? You think it'll survive? Do you think that the weather sealing, which of course is pertinent to the camera, is not of course pertinent to the light box, which itself and the reflex mirror are of course also completely encased. There's not a body cap on this camera, which I believe you can actually see. So he's crazy. There's something not right about him. So I'm glad I could show this to you. It was actually really neat watching it freeze, and I made sure I got all the bubbles out when I completely immersed it, so that I would also have complete water saturation inside the battery compartment. Now I know the lithium ion will be okay, and I know that the weatherproofing gaskets will be okay, but of course, as is the nature of water, is that as it freezes, it expands. That's due to the molecular geometry of water. So, as far as it creeping its way, from the light box in further through past the shutter, actually knowing the nature of the shutter and how flexible they are, that I know the shutter will be intact, and I know I could actually dry out the light box and all the contacts since I used deionized and heavily purified water with no iron content. So let's see how it turns out after we do a nice thaw on it. Okay, folks? Anyway, thank you. You have seen the world's coolest Nikon. If not figuratively, then at least literally. Okay? Ouch. That hurts. It's too cold. Thanks for watching! He's crazy, I'm sure of it now. He's crazy!